Hi everybody and welcome back to another live show here with me, Peter Driver and Biscari Fly. Hope everyone is enjoying the start of their bank holiday weekend. It's October bank holiday weekend here in Ireland, and the hours change tonight, so winter time I think officially starts tomorrow for a lot of people. Those long dark evenings are creeping in now, and there's only one thing for it, folks. Get the vices out, get the hooks in, get the thread on, and start whipping out those patterns for next year. We're into the depths of tying season now, so delighted to be able to be on here another Saturday night with everybody, and I hope everybody's keeping well. Lots of water in the rivers now at the moment, lots of water everywhere. Everywhere's getting a good washout. How you doing to Graham Lonigan is on with us there. Congratulations, Graham. Won our prize last week. Dave is on there with us as well. Dave will be back here with another trivia quiz this weekend. Of course, Dave missed last weekend, and it was the weekend Graham won, but Dave was delighted to hear Graham won. So, good evening, Paul Burke. Ricky Croak is on there. How's the arms after digging all them lugworms the other day, Ricky? Did you recover? Kieran Sherlock, hope you're keeping well. Darius is on there with us. Bernard is on there. Billy Boland. Yep, absolutely, Billy. Definitely a night for tying, and maybe even a few beers. Might have one later on myself. Declan Noon's on there. How you doing, Declan? Liam Long is on there. James Hope, Garrett Core. Great stuff. Thanks a million, Garrett. Really appreciate the business. Peter O'Connell. Good stuff. He's down in Jazz Weekend in Cork. Peter Wadding's on with us there. Keeping well, Peter. Norman Wells is on there as well. Graham Connolly, Patrick Smith, John Ditch, Deirdre Delaney, Dylan Roberts from the Welsh D, Tim Sullivan, David Hannaford, Dalty O'Donnell, how you doing up there in Donegal, Dalty, and Robbie Berry and Chris Oliver. Robbie Berry will be actually along on this show, folks, later on. He done a segment for us, as we all have seen on one of our previous shows. Robbie is qualified taxidermist, and he does a lot of feather care, feather harvesting. So Robbie is along with a very interesting segment tonight, so don't miss that one. Sean O'Shea is on with us there. How you doing, Sean? Hope you're keeping well. Don't miss Robbie Berry. He's coming along late in the show. So, wings. We're going to talk about wings tonight, and we're going to tie wings. Okay? If every time I put up at the start of every season, how you doing, Luca? How you doing, Simon? Brendan Driver's on there. Hey, Brendan. Hope you're keeping well. Kieran Flynn and Aaron is on there as well. But wings is probably the most popular requested topic I ever get. Every time I put up a post there, how you doing, Brian Canty and John O'Riordan? Every time I put up a request there of, we're doing live shows, or we're doing a show, we're doing a video, whatever it may be, what do you want to see? The most common request I get is, will you show us more about wings and stuff like that? Now, I don't think it's Halloween spooky, but I don't think anyone likes, it's a bit of a nightmare sometimes doing wings, okay? Not say I detest them. They're, once you get used to them, and I take wings nearly every day of the week, but they can be a bit of a pain in the backside at times, depending on the wing, of course. But they can be a bit of how you doing, Nigel? They can be a bit of a pain in the backside at times, depending on the wing you're tying. There is a million different types of wings. I've spent all week thinking about this. How you doing, Richard Adam? See, Hannah gave you a bit of a lesson there on the lake there today, Richard. But I've been thinking about all week, and I've been looking back through all the messages of what people have asked me for and stuff like that. There's poly wings, there's DeVoe wings, there's Mallard wings, snipe wings, starling wings, deer hair wings, there's stacked wings, there's hackle tip wings, there's CDC wings. It's endless of what wing material and techniques we use in fly tying. So I've selected a number of tonight's. How you doing, John Johnson? And Graham is on there. Hope you're doing well. How you doing, Kevin? I think we have enough water for now, all right, Kevin. We could nearly start selling it. Up here in Kilkenny, all the rivers are bursting their banks. But so I've selected as many as I can, and we're going to get through as many as we can tonight, because we're just tying wings. I'm not going to tie the full flies. I'm just going to tie wings, talk about a bit about the technique. How you doing, Martin Kenny? Talk about the technique, and Dennis Gouland's on it with us there as well. How you doing, Dennis? Hope you're keeping well. Talk about the techniques of all the different types of wings. Now, some might say that some of these wings are obsolete, but I think as a fly tyer and someone, anybody that's into fly tying, and I think with modern day tying techniques and materials, wings are becoming probably less frequently used on fly patterns and stuff like that, or maybe easier options are out there for people. But also with people tying a lot of nymphs and stuff like that, wings, there is some people out there would find very little use for a wing. But it is something that is nice to be able to do and do properly. A beautifully winged fly is an art in itself, and it's a craft. It's a beautiful thing to look at when it's finished properly. It can be a bit tedious at times. We're going to get into it straight away and do some wings. But just before we do, there's a couple of little things, you know, that I kind of want to mention first before we talk about wings, and that is, you know, one of the probably biggest downfalls of fly tyres. How you doing, Michael Callaghan? John Johnson. We'll see. John Johnson reckons better than Strictly Come Dancing. After you watching me tie wings for an hour and a half and making lots of mistakes, you might be watching a bit of Strictly there, John. All good, Michael Callaghan. I hope you're keeping well too. But the materials, your choice of materials, and making sure you have good materials for winging is very, very important. Okay. Now, when I'm talking about good materials, I'm talking about a good, strong feather. You know, no kind of discrepancies in the fibers, stuff like that. You know, can be a big help. So finding the right material can be a huge help to tie in good wings. A lot of the snipe and starling you get nowadays, if you can manage to put your hands on some. We'll have a look at the Green Peter wing in a little while, Chris, as well. If anybody has it and they want to see tonight, actually, by the way, do bang it up there on the comment section, and I'll try to get to them. I'm going to get through as many as I can. We're going to fly through these now once we get into them. But it's very important to understand, say, you know, getting the right materials and prepping your materials well is really important. When we get down to bronze mallard and stuff like that, you know, steaming and prepping your materials. And I would have certain, how you doing, Jerry? I would have certain amount of materials like wing quills or duck quills and stuff like that. That would be for winging and winging, you know, to be really prime, really high quality stuff. You just look at the feather, you know, that is a beautiful feather. And I'm going to keep that for wings and wings alone. Same with bronze mallard and other feathers, hen pheasants and stuff like that. So, you know, be selective with your material, choose the right stuff, and that will certainly be a massive help towards achieving good wings on any fly. Now, there's always nights and there's days where it just doesn't go right for you, and them are the days you go tying nymphs. But we'll hope everything will go right for us here tonight. But there was a very important thing that was taught to me by Noah Shields, the late Noah Shields, the guy who taught me. How you doing, Peter McCann? We won't be doing Pacific Butcher wings tonight, James, but we will be doing that style of wings, which is just a wet fly wing. Basically, you're just using different material. But there was a very, very important point taught to me when I was a young boy, 12, 13, learning how to tie flies with Noel Shields up in Greystones in County Wicklow. If anybody out there remembers Noel, he moved down to Bunmattan in later life, but when the government decided to build a motorway straight through his house. But Noel was a great fly tyer and a real traditionalist and very particular about his wings. And he always said, don't ever forget the 3 S's when it comes to wings. Okay, and if you remember these 3, there'll always be, you know, when you're looking to build a wing or you're thinking about what wing will I put on that, he always said you have to have these three S's, you know, meet these kind of the standard. And one is strength. Okay, so your wing material has to have strength. Whatever you're going to build that wing with, absolutely, Dylan. But whatever you're going to build that wing material with, you know, make sure it has the strength to hold, it has the strength to tie in properly, and not fall apart. Because sometimes we build the wing in first, and then we build the fly around the wing. And if your wing material hasn't got the strength within itself, well, then there's a good chance by the time you finish that fly, it's going to be in a mess anyway. Okay, so the wing has to have strength. It has to have stability. So when we tie it in, you know, your mount, the tread, the way you're treading it, the way you're securing it in, it has to be stable. Okay, so it remains in place. That's a very important thing. That it's not when you're finishing off the fly or doing the whip finish, or even indeed when you're fishing it. You know, when you're casting that through the air, that wing gets an awful lot of abuse. When a trout takes it, it gets an awful lot of abuse. So it has to have a certain amount of stability in the way you mount it onto the hook or onto the fly, and also within itself again, okay, as regards how the microfibers all meet and the barbs all connect together. So high quality materials there. Doesn't mean you have to spend massive money on it, but just when you choose your feather, it's got to have high quality. So the barbs are really strong. I would check the barbs on my feathers. I was today getting duck quills out, and I was checking the barbs to get the highest strength barbs that would really connect well and they marry well together. It really helps. So stability there is very important. And then shape of your wing. What shape do you want to achieve? The profile, the length of the wing, you know, all that kind of stuff is very important. So Noel used to always drum it into me. Don't forget the 3 S's now, Peter, when you're tying that wing or choosing that wing for that fly. You know, all good stuff for you, Graham. He was an absolute gentleman. I spent nearly 2 years up there with him. An absolute gentleman of a flight there. And he really did. He was very, very particular. Very particular flight there. Glad I got the pleasure of being taught by him initially. So those were, you know, 3 things that we have to understand. And then also he used to preach to me a lot about the understanding of curvature and the feathers, the natural curvature within those feathers, the concave, the convex, how to use that curvature to create the wing, which would be also back to the three S's, the shape, the stability and the strength of our fly. So, that's some stuff to remember. We'll cover some of that back again in a little while. So we're going to kick off straight away, and we're going to start off with some I've kind of done a whole little practice set here for myself, because I wanted to make sure I have kind of a fair idea of what I'm talking about. Because, we do tie them quite regularly, but tying them regularly and thinking about them regularly is two different things. I'd often sit down to tie a load of winged flies, and I'll just rattle them off like, sometimes a bit slower than others. They don't work out for me or whatever. But, you rattle them off. You don't really think about not just tying them, but teaching them kind of, what we have to do here on the live show is actually talk about the technique of doing them. So I did a bit of practice on them today. So I'm just going to do most of them here on a size 12 301, quite a large hook. But just to give a real good visual of what we want to try and get across. Don't forget, folks, share the stream if you're on there with us. Hit that share button and encourage a few others to come on that might be looking for us. And now I have no flies to give away tonight. Sorry, folks, because if you win tonight's flies, all you're going to win is a load of hooks with wings on them. But I might think of something a little while to give away to you for listening to me for a few hours. You all need a little bit of a what would you say, a prize there for putting up with me. So what we're going to tie with first, okay, and an awful lot of what we use for winging materials is duck, mallard duck. Okay, and Robbie's going to be on a little bit later on talking about mallard duck. So we're going to start off with some little river wings here. Now, a lot of this technique can be transferred over to lake fly wings, of course, as well. Okay, but I'll tie them a little bit smaller, makes it a little bit more trickier than sometimes than tying those larger wings. And we use an awful lot of duck. So here we got two duck quills off a mallard. Okay, two opposites. So we always select a feather from the opposites. When we're selecting the duck for what is known as the slate wing. Okay, so a duck wing is always called, and some people still never protect it, Norman. But we, sorry, I lost my trail of thought there. So the wing quills, the duck wing, the mallard duck wing, the primary feather is often known as the slate wing. You can read in an awful lot of books, especially some of the older books, the wing will be described as slate. Well, this is what slate is, okay? Now, you can tie with starling, you can tie with different other feathers that are of similar colour. Nowadays it's very hard to get quality starling that has the strength and stability to hold the wing together. Snipe is the very same, very hard to get good snipe that has the strength and stability to hold together. So a lot of my stuff that would have a grey wing would be tied with duck quills, okay, or called slate. Alright, that's what we're going to use. And you can see I've already took a couple of wings off these feathers here and used them. They're nice and clean. They're a beautiful pair of feathers, opposites of course, and yeah, you can also see the concave and the convex in those feathers. Get a real good shot of it there, because that's going to be important as we talk about it. You can see the concave and the convex. Very important to understand that and not to try and manipulate that. How you doing? It is, Declan, very soft and very frustrating to work with. Alan, how you doing, Alan? Great to have you on with us there. So you can see the concave and the convex. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're doing a dry fly wing, a split wing. Okay, for a dry fly that you might use in, say, a dry Greenwells or something like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take two snippets out of the wing. Okay, now in order to take two snippets, we want them both the same size, and we also want them on kind of the same part of the wing. Now, especially when we move over to hen pheasant and stuff like that in a little while, we'll be really talking about choosing the right part of the feather to match on the opposite side, so you don't have two complete opposite moltons. Try and get them as close as you can. But what we're going to do is we want them both the same size. Now I have a little tool here, as you can see. Okay, very easy little tool. This is a tweezers, a pin nose tweezers. Don't ask me where I got it, because I'd only have to tell you lies to tell you where I got it. Okay, neat little tool. And what you've got is a very fine point up here. And as you can see, I've stuck a rubber band onto that. Really, this is a really handy little tool when you're doing wings, especially slip wings. Okay, and as I move that back, as you can see, it gets smaller. And as I move it forward, it gets larger. So when I'm doing a particular size wing, if I'm doing, say, size 16 Greenwells dries, and I have to tie up wings in that, that's good to know, Dave. Thanks a million. Teal primary is a bit more forgiving to work with. How you doing, Paul Malunphy? How you doing, Dominic? Good man, Robbie. Likes tying classic wings. They can be. Again, it depends on the materials. Martin, yeah, it does. I might have robbed it over our makeup bag at some stage, but anyway, it's a neat little hand. I put a little rubber band on there, and it allows me to adjust. So basically, if I'm tying size 16s, I'll push that back, and it'll give me the nice the perfect measurement there of what I wanted to choose. So when I go to choose my wing quills, what I will do is I will actually push that, keep one at the bottom, and push the other one straight through, as you can see, and I can separate my wing quill perfectly. Okay, I'll snip that side off, and I'll do exactly the same to the other side. So I always have the same measurement on both sides. I'm not putting the two sides back to back or side to side or whatever it may be, and then realize, oh God, one is a bit bigger than the other, and you're trying to get a needle in there, trying to get a scissors in there. Once you separate them, you can kind of just pull them apart with your finger once the barbs have been separated, and you can get your scissors in there and cut them away quite cleanly. Okay, place them down. I normally, if I'm doing wings, I have a little sheet of cardboard or something here in front of me. That's it, John. Yeah. And I'll get my opposite feather, and I'll do the same again. Put a little bit higher, and I'll select my quill. Now you can also use a needle. Okay, so I got a little wooden. It's a little, I don't know what it is, a wooden stick here, and I have a very clean needle in it. Okay, I don't use that for varnish or anything like that. That can also be used, but obviously you're going to have to guess the measurement. It's not going to be quite as close as getting that measurement right. But a clean needle, no varnish or nothing on it, because that can get caught as it goes through the barbs and stuff. So I'm just selecting off my two here. And what I'd normally do is I'd normally kind of cut exactly what I need out there for a dozen. Great stuff, Paul. Paul Malumphey won our flies last week. I'm just getting these tidied up here, and then so going to use a little bit of Kevlar on this size 12301. Size is irrelevant here. I just want to show you the technique behind some of this stuff, okay? And just talk to you about it. And I hope everyone that has asked me about wings that are watching tonight, or watching on YouTube tomorrow, or watching during the week, I hope this really does help you. They can be tedious, but it is a beautiful technique to be able to get right as nice wings, especially when you're tying nice dries and stuff like that. So I'm going to put these back to back, and I've got the concave, or the convex, back to back. No. Give me a second here now. Just get them into the fingers. Make sure the tips line up. And once I'm happy with those, so you can see what I've there. I've got my two wing slips, lining them up. Now when we're doing upright wings, normally the rule of thumb is that we would keep, the wing length is roughly around the length of the body of the fly. Okay, so whatever length of your body your fly is, or even the shank of the hook, well then that's going to be the length of that's going to be the height of your wing. Okay, so get them up there, make sure you're in around the right length, and once we do that, then we're going to place them in on top. Bring your thread up to exactly where you want that wing to mount, at the back, not at the front. Okay, sometimes you need space to be left there for hackles or heads or whatever it may be, or more work that you're going to do, so always make sure your thread position is crucial here at this point. Trial and error, you'll learn quick enough, trust me. Okay, we're going to place them in directly on top. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to catch, pinch above, come down. Now some people will naturally pinch the front. I don't, okay? What I do is I come around again loosely and I pull directly up. Catch, pinch, pull down. And I'll pull directly up. Now that didn't work, as you can see, they went a little bit to the one side. Okay, I need to watch what I'm doing now and not be watching the screens a bit more. So, threads in place. Place them in on top. There we go. Once I've got them in position, I then bring a couple of turns of thread down to the waist side of the hook. Okay, so we're always heading this way. Now, if we were doing the opposite wings, which I'll do in a second for you, the wet fly wing, well then we'll obviously bring our thread towards the eye. Okay, you never put any thread back towards the actual wing, okay, because if you do, what'll happen is they'll fall over. Okay, we need them sitting directly on top. So what happens when you wrap around and pull up, all that material locks in around together, locks in around the whole hook and the wing at the one time. If you pinch and pull down, you will pull it to the side, and it'll happen exactly what happened to me there at the start. I'm not concentrating. Okay, it'll pull it to the side and your wing will fall over to the side. That goes for any wing. Okay, going to get in there and I'm just going to taper that wing cut back, cut away the waist. All right. I'll then bring up my thread, and I won't go any further than where the first turn of thread went in. What I'll do now is I'll catch my wings and hold them directly up, and I get a couple of turns in there at the butt of it. And then I'll bring my thread wrap back down. Now I'm ready to go and start building my body. What I have now is a lovely pair of wings upstanding directly off the hook. As you can see, nice and clean. Directly up off the hook. Absolutely, Dennis. The light in here when I'm doing the actual shows, it's actually quite dark, because if it's bright, the glare that goes out to you folks, you won't see the detail as much. So you can just play around with those little barbs there. You can figure of 8 now in between. Here's another use for this little needle. I'll just put the needle in between there, and I'll just press down a bit of pressure there between those two wings, just to get them separated a little bit, if you wish. And there you have your grand little pair of up-winged duck slips. Okay, nice and simple. I'd continue on my fly there now. I would continue on my fly, tying my tail, tying my body, come up in my hackle, and as you can see, I've left a nice little bit of room there at the head to get a couple of turns of hackle on both sides of that. You can figure of 8 your thread in between that wing to keep them quite separated, but normally when I come up with my hackle, I might even put a turn of hackle in between them, or they will actually hold still, okay? Sometimes on some larger flies, I might put a little drop of lacquer in there, just straight down on the needle, straight in between those, just to help hold those wing slips in position. But most times that's perfectly fine the way they are now, and they're a nice little pair of wings there now, sitting straight up exactly where I want them, and hey presto, you're off to go, and you got a beautiful looking wet fly hackle afterwards, or a dry fly hackle around that wing, and it'll be quite nice finish on that fly. So I hope he's got that one, and it helps a few people. So I'm going to move on now. We're going to do another wing slip, and we're going to do the wet fly version. Okay, very quickly I'll do the wet fly version. So again, but this time, rather than turning the convex back to back, we're going to turn the concave back to back on the same. Okay, so I get my same measurements. Okay, got my little measurement tool here. I'm going to do the very same process again, and I'm going to divide out my duck, snip away that little piece, and then great question, Chris. Is it better to start with the wing before the body? It depends on the fly, Chris, and I have that as a note here to talk about. Actually, I've got a few pages of notes here that I'm going to be talking about over the process of this show. It depends on the fly. When I'm doing those dries like that, Chris, absolutely I would mount the wing first, get that wing right, and then build the body and everything else around the wing. When I'm doing wet flies and stuff, obviously the wing is the last part of the process, so I would then put that in last. So it depends on the fly, Chris. Depends on the fly. An awful lot of dry flies that would have, say, slips, they would be going in first. Okay, back on with the Kevlar there. Got me little slips here now, and I say this time I'm turning them around the opposite way, and putting just using my clumsy finger and thumbs here to get these together. Just getting them nicely. Come on. They're just not marrying, just not sitting in perfectly together now. Hang on there 1 second, folks. No, let's see what's going on here. I wouldn't even bother carrying on with that. What I'll actually do is I would actually go and cut another set, because there's something wasn't quite right with those two. So going to cut another two. Just drop them here onto a little piece of white card I have in here. Don't forget, Dave is going to be along in a little while with his trivia quiz. We got a lovely lucky bag selection there again this week for you folks. Stay tuned, that one will be coming along there now in a little while. And we have Robbie Berry coming along with a very interesting, and because we have the duck, or because we tie a lot of wings with duck, or dabbler wings, or all these slip wings and stuff like that. Well, that's what Robbie's working on tonight. Robbie's going to be working on a Mallard face. Absolutely, Robbie, and that's just the joys of it, you know. And I don't, you know, that's the joys of doing wings. There's times I sit down to tie a load of winged flies, and after after a few goals, just get up and walk away, or say, go to the nymphs, because you just don't get, it just doesn't go right for you. And when it's not going right for you, don't frustrate yourselves, folks. Just move away from it for a while. And it's often when you move away for a little while and come back to it, you know, when your first attempt back, it'll just go perfectly for you. So, you know, don't be afraid just to leave it alone and go away from it and then come back to it. It's not perfect either. Why the hell is that happening to me now? A second now. But it's no harm to be showing that even for someone that dies every day, it does actually. It doesn't work now soon. We'll be coming back to that one later on. Ah, no, there we go. Got it. All of a sudden, slots into place, and I got my lovely little wing slips ready to go. So, going to place them on top. So this time it's a wet fly wing I'm putting in there. Going to place them on top, and I'm going, once I get me measurement right, exactly where I want them, hold them with the left hand, and again, like before, now this time I would have a body in place, I would have all that kind of stuff, possibly a beard. So, you know, when you're building this, and we'll talk a bit about mounts when we come up to the, especially the green Peter wing, you know, make sure your mount is nicely tapered. If it's too much of a steep drop there after you add in your beard and your dubbing and all that, you know, it will project the wing up at an angle you don't want. Okay, so always try and make sure that your wing is, or that your mount of where you're going to mount those wings is nicely tapered to get exactly the profile you want. Again, back to our 3S's, the shape, the profile of that fly, you want to get it ideal. So again, into the fingers, pinch, down around the hook, and pull directly up. And then a couple of turns heading towards the eye. And then what you get then is a nice wing, as you can see how slim that is, sitting directly on top of the hook. A lovely shape that I want to it. I'll hold the wing as I snip that away. This is the end of the fly. And I'll just tidy up that bit of wing and material there. You don't really have much room for manipulation once they're entered in there. If it goes wrong at any stage, your only hope really is to take it away and start all over again. But you can see you get a nice shape to that wing. Great stuff. Great stuff. Thanks a million. Yeah, J-wing can be used as well, Billy. Just reading some of your comments. But as you can see there, that wrap around and pull directly up and then move your, don't worry about it, I'm not being fussy with the heads right here. I'm just really more want to show you the technique of how to tie those wings. So you can see how flat, little bit of an offset on that one, small little bit. Really wouldn't be overly fussily worried about that. But the wing is nicely kept together, has a nice shape with both sides, and it's sitting on a nice profile coming off the hook. If our tapered body was underneath that now with our tail and a little beard, you'd have a beautiful wet fly that'll definitely look very nice and tasty for a trout. So there's your two ducks, slips, wings. Very, very simple. Once you know, a couple of little tips there as regards, say, wrapping around, pulling directly up and trapping in that feather, and then always working towards the waist and never go back up on the wing. Like, even if you've got a lot going on, when we get to wet flies in a little bit, we will talk about, you know, when we have a lot of hackles, we will tie a green Peter tonight actually, and we'll put in all those hackles and dubbins, and there's an awful lot of business going on up there around the head, and then you have to mount a very nice, you know, you want a really nice wing on a green Peter. Well then, you know, you've got to be, you know, you've got to get your mount perfect, your spacing perfect on it, and it's not hard to do, but once you get it right the first time, it will help an awful lot. How you doing, Kevin? It will help an awful lot, and it will, you know, you will get lovely wings out of it. So moving on from there, I'm looking at my little list. What I'm going to do here now is just two quickly little hackle tips, little hackle tip wings. So if we're tying the Adams and stuff like that, and Dylan was on to me earlier on, we were talking about Adams, just messaging about Adams flies and stuff like that, of maybe doing a night on Adams. It is a fly that nearly everyone has in their box. A fantastic dry fly, works all over the world and all year round. And some people, you know, the hackle tips can be a bit annoying for them, whatever. I got a couple of hackle tips, so I said I'll do a quick one for you. So again, I've started off my trade. Now, I don't want to add in my hackle tips there. I want to come back a mil or two there and just leave myself plenty of room. The Adams has quite a large hackle the Adams have, I've used it, Kevin, for I've used it for Iron Blues, but the Adams has quite a large what would you say, has quite a large hackle. So we need to leave a little bit of room. So all I'm doing here is I'm lining up my two little grizzly tips. Okay, you can use grizzly. Some people like a lot of Cree as well. But you can see again the natural curvature of those two feathers when I place them together. I have put them together that the convex is on the internal and the concave is on the external. Okay, so you got to remember that as well. Okay, so I want these to be naturally sitting up and nicely spaced out. So always make sure you're aware of your curvature of your feathers. It's so crucial going forward, or when you're selecting your wings. When when you're looking to manipulate them into position, it's nice to have a bit of natural help there of the natural curvature of the feather, helping you put that wing into position rather than you having to force it with your trade or dubbins or hackles. Okay, so again, we're going for the length of the body of the shank of the fly. That one's a little bit long, so I'll shorten it up just by a minute. And I'll make sure I'm in around the right length. Okay, it's for demonstration purposes, you get the gist. Okay, now what I'll do is the natural gap that's between those two feathers, I'll shove them down on a downward angle to start. In around, pinch, and pull directly down. Just get them tied in there. Because we don't have a flat wing here, so it's not going to pull from either side to side. Okay, you can pinch and pull directly down on these. It will mount quite fine for you. Come around, and then as always, as before, always working back with your next couple of turns, your security turns, working back down along the waist piece of material. Okay, get in there and snip them down. So why I put those two tips down at that angle using the shank of the hook to keep them separated. It makes it much easier, and it makes a much quicker process to do it that way than to sit them on top and then tie them in directly. They can cross over, they can flop to the side. Once you put them in with the shank in between them and tie your first wrap or two wraps in that way, well then, even though they're flat now, it will keep that natural curvature, as you can see, straight down in line with the shank of the hook. Okay, so there's that natural gap I have right now. Okay, I bring my thread back up and I'll catch those two tips and I'll just stroke them straight back up. Now don't worry if a couple of the long barbs there and fibres come out there from underneath, from along here. That's fine. We're going to tidy all that up in a minute. But as you can see, without even having to split them, I've got a natural split. That natural split that we tied in there is still there. Okay, they're perfectly positioned, and all I have to do now is give them a little bit of a pull apart, or I go to my nice clean needle. How you doing, Lucas? I go to my nice clean needle, and again I'll push in there. And I'll just get them to split up. Now again, you can do a figure of 8 if I was tying mayflies and stuff like that with hackle tips. You can put a figure of 8 in there. You can along the way put a bit of dubbing or a turn of hackle in there as you go forward. But if I was doing little river Adams, that'd be quite fine. Tidy everything up and I'm ready to proceed on and tie my dry fly. Okay, they're quite secure, not going anywhere. I'll get them into position once I get up to my hackle, and we got a lovely little pair of hackle tip wings. As you can see, exactly where I want them. Nice and natural curvature, help me there with the displays I want on them. And there we go. Nice size wings, nice proportions. Don't forget the wing height, length of the body. Okay, very simple. Take that one away, and that's ready. A lot of these dry flies I actually use. A lot of these ones we're actually tying now, I will actually use these. I'll sit down tomorrow or in a week's time or whatever, and I'll actually tie up some wets and dries for myself, probably for the season. Going to just quickly move on to a little split wing CDC before we're going to take a little break and go over to Robbie to talk about feathers. Okay, we're talking about feathers and the importance of feathers before we move on to a bit more kind of lock style stuff and things like that. Okay, so CDC is a very common material to be used in wings. All right, we use it in a lot of river dry flies. We use it in spent mayflies. We use it in a whole multitude of things. Okay, so we're going to do a very simple little split wing CDC here that I tie an awful lot of my dry flies. Again, I'm going to start off with the Kevlar and create my base there. Come back up to where I want this fly to begin. Okay, very simple little split wing. Find it very useful, and we're going to put in, how you doing, Anthony Brady? We're going to put in a little bit of a colour in there to help with visual. So if I'm tying these in size 18s and 20s for the river, they're quite small, and they be, you know, you want a little bit of visibility on them. So what I'll often do is add in a little bit of globe right there. So I'm going to put in a little bit of globe right there first. And I'm going to tie it in there. And just leave that sitting out the back. Just take off that little bit of it. Okay. Secured and well. And then I'm going to select my CDC feathers. Now again, CDC feathers have natural curvature to them. Okay, you got a concave, you got a concave, and you got a convex. Okay, I hope you all understand what I'm saying when I'm talking about concave and convex. Okay, so you can see there's natural curvature stem. Okay, so when I'm doing a split wing CDC, I'm always, let's say I'm using 2 on either side or 3 on either side, we're matching up the concave and the convex. So the first side I'm laying down here now, the convex is pointing up to me. The second 2 I get, the concave will be pointing up towards me, facing up towards me and tip. Lining up all the tips, put them together. You'll see what I mean in 1 minute. I just dropped the feather. I can put it back in there 1 second. We got some DeVoe wings coming up as well. We're going to be tying some DeVoe wings. We're going to be talking about green Peters. We're going to do a quick look at a hair wing. Thanks, Dylan. So you can see as I get these CDC tips lined up, again, I have a natural divide. You can kind of make out a natural divide there between the 4 feathers, okay, which is just in there. That's going to help me in the process of getting these flies to divide and separate, and I'm just going to adjust one of these CDC feathers to divide and separate and get them lined up exactly the way I want them for this fly. Okay, so once I got them in position, I do finger and thumb, switch over, and all I'm going to do is place them in directly on top, pinch and pull up. Okay, again, we don't want, because we do actually need these, because we've got that, we lined up those tips and they're flat, we don't want, it is Martin Kenny, yeah, I use Kevlar for literally everything, especially for dries. You know, you don't want them to flop over the side. We want that natural divide in line again with the shank of our hook. Okay, and just as before, as always, once I put the first turn in, I'm always working away from the wing, never working back towards the wing, and I taper that off. Okay. Now what I'll do is I'll bring my thread back up and lift those wings, and a couple of turns, probably a couple of mil too forward on these ones, but that's okay. What I'll do now is I'll get my pink post and I will go down that natural divide between those 2 wings. Catch, pinch, pull down, just tying in that pink right there at that pink lost for words there. That pink globe right in there at the head of the fly, and then I'll catch the pink globe again and I'll pull it directly back up and I will trap it backwards in the middle of the wing, like so. Okay, so you can see it there now, pink globe I got that natural divide between the 2 wings, and I'm going to whip finish that off and be able to show you. Thanks Dave is on there as well. Talking about the natural size of wings and stuff like that. Just whip finish that off, and then I'll trim my pink post just below the height of the full wing, and that just gives me a nice cider, as you can see. Okay, I got the natural divide between the 2 wings, slightly cocked out either side. If I want them to be more spent, I could divide them up. I could put a figure of 8 in there as I come up with the rest of my body with the dubbing and stuff like that. But it gives me a lovely split wing up CDC, and quite large, that one. You know, if I'm tying 18s and stuff like that, to be a lot smaller. Of course, if you want, you can flatten them out, do single fly, and then give them a little bit of shape. Take some of the extremities off and put a little bit of shape to that. Don't overdo it. Less is more when it comes to trimming, but you can give yourself a little bit of shape on that fly and create a very, very nice little wing, up wing. You got a bit of olive thread on that body now with a bit of cocktail sticking at the back, a little bit of hare's ear spun underneath that. It'll be a magic dry fly, absolute magic dry fly for lakes. You can also use It is, James, yeah. You can also use foam. As you can see, this one here, I actually used foam to split that one. Okay, it gives a wider flare on the CDC, but you can use foam in there as well in the same process. Obviously, the foam is not going to stick straight back up, but you can use foam in there to get that nice shape on those CDC wings. It does really give you. Now, when we're tying CDC wings, I'm not going to tie it for you because thanks, Lucas. They're very simple, but again, it's a real good understanding of it's a real good understanding of the curvature of the feathers, you know, really getting a good understanding of those curvature feathers and taking your time, not just lashing together 6 feathers, put it in there and then try and divide them. You know, you get that natural curvature, because what also happens is, folks, and we're going back to the 3 C's here again, we're talking about strength, stability and shape. When a trout takes that fly and you dry it out, if you don't have the natural curvature in the right position, or you have manipulated that feather to get into that position, there's a good chance it won't go back to the way you want it. But it will always go back to the natural curve. And you know, even if you have a dry fly that you really like and it's got crumbled up over a couple of fishing sessions or casting sessions or whatever, and you need to get it back to normal, a bit of steam there, and it'll get it'll get right back to you, you know, as regards to what shape you want. So it'll naturally hold its shape much better when you're catching a lot of trout or doing a lot of casting on those flies, drying them and treating them and all that kind of stuff. So very, very simple. Split them up like that. Little pink posts, I do fish a lot of those on my olives and stuff like that. Great for visibility. Now, when we're talking about sedge wing on CDC, obviously, if we were doing, I'm not going to do one for you there now quickly. It is, yeah, Dennis is on there. Foam is great for splitting wings of mayfly. Absolutely, Dennis. Absolutely. You know, if we're doing sedge wings, you know, that's the way our sedge wing is going to lay. Okay, it's going to lay on the natural curvature over the back on the sedge, because I want that to, you know, when I stack those wings, so I'll get that. That's one single feather. I'll put another one directly on top of it with the convex up on top and the concave underneath, so it'll sit lovely on that hook and get a lovely tapered natural shape to it, going back over the wing. So I'll stack my feathers. I'll take several CDC feathers and place them on top of each other, exactly with the natural curvature of it going all in the same direction, and you'll always have a lovely natural shape to your CDC then, as regards, you know, a nice sedge wing. As you can see the shape on that without me even doing too much to it there. You do start to get a nice shape of a sedge wing. It makes it very easier to get those profiles exactly as you want, by just spending a bit of time with it, making sure you choose the right length of feather, the right type of feather. You know, CDC, when you buy a bag of CDC, there's a whole load of feathers in there. They're not all made for wings. They're not all made for hackles. You've got to pick them out and select them. So do, you know, take your time with your materials. Again, back to one of the first things you said, choose the materials, choose the right kind of feather that's going to do the job exactly what you want. Is an awful big step towards getting good wings and good finish to your wings. So I'm going to leave you there, folks, with that. I hope you enjoyed that little first session on wings. I know it's a little bit monotonous rather than our usual tying session and tying all these lovely fly patterns, but you're not going to tie lovely fly patterns unless you have the technique. And I've been asked so many times about this, I just had to do it. And I hope the people that really wanted it are taking something from it. And I hope your tying comes on a lot and you get growing an awful lot more confidence with wings. I struggled for a long time with wings, and we all still do it on days. But I'm going to put you in the trusted hands of Mr. Robbie Berry here now, folks. Going to take a little break, and Robbie is going to go through a Mallard, which is okay, where we get the different feathers, how to select them properly, treatments and all that kind of stuff. Robbie's a genius when it comes to this stuff. So thanks a million, Robbie, for coming on and giving us these videos. We got loads of videos coming up from Robbie over the whole season. We're right here till March, every Saturday night live at 8:30 p.m. If you need any fly tying gear or fly fishing gear, don't forget to give us a shout here at scaryfly.com, and we will gladly look after you up. So without further ado, going to hand you over to Robbie, and I will see you all back here in a few moments. Don't forget to share that live stream there, folks, and I will be, thanks Robert, I will be, thanks Miles, thanks John, I will be picking up something down the shop there now for you to hand over tonight for anyone that shares or comments on the stream. Same for all our YouTubers, don't forget to comment or share, and I will pick a prize Monday or Tuesday. So here you go, see you in a few minutes.
Hey everyone, hope you're all keeping well. I'm Robbie Berry and I'm delighted you're joining me here today. So I want to focus today on Mallard duck. And on the table I have a Drake Mallard duck. And basically what I want to focus on is what feathers to take off of a Mallard duck for flight time. And it is the most popular question I get asked. It's without a doubt, it's the one that I broadly get asked from everyone, and I answer a lot is how do I know what feathers to take off a Mallard duck? It's just very simple. It's just I've done the research, and I'm a long time doing it, so that's it. But this is what I want to focus on today. And like I said, on the table I have a Drake Mallard duck on the table, which is effectively a Drake Mallard duck is a male Mallard duck. And today I'm going to go through each feather that we can take off a duck for flight tying uses. Okay. And before I start, I just want to say every feather on this duck can be used for flight tying. And I always say that, yes, there is the most popular and famous feathers like the bronze mallard, the CDC, the wing quills, the flank feathers. They're the most popular feathers, and everyone knows about them feathers, but where do we find them on the world? That's what people can't identify. But then you also have the likes of the neck feather, you have the back feather, the shoulder feather and the back feather, you have the tail feathers, okay? Really good feathers, and feathers that are not to be dismissed or left on the bird, because they do have good uses. So we'll go through it, and we'll have a look at it. Now, whenever I get myself a Mallard duck, or for the likes of you watching, you're after going out now and you're after getting your hands on the Mallard duck, okay? I always start with the CDC feathers first. So really, because CDC is to me is the most important feather on the duck. I would tie 99% of my flies are CDC flies. Okay, love it. I can't get enough CDC, so I'm always looking for CDC, and for that reason I always start with it. And there's the other reason is it's such a there's not a lot of CDC feathers on a duck, so basically, if you start ripping feathers out left, right and centre, the CDC feathers get, you could quite easily pull the CDC feathers out of the duck, and basically, they get caught up and mixed up in all the other feathers, and it's just a nightmare then to try and find them, sort through them, and basically try and pick the CDC feathers out. So always start. My tip would be, if you have a duck, is always start with the most delicate and most, to me, important feather. And it's the CDC feather. So turning the duck around and pulling the wings out of the way, we're going to. I just want to just pull the wings down, just so you have a good look at the back of the duck here. Okay, and if you look at me, I'm looking away all the time. I have a big screen set up to my left here, and I'm just going to be constantly checking the position of the duck on the screen, so to making sure that it's in the view of the camera for ye at all times. So that's why I'm looking away constantly over in this direction. So basically, getting back to it, so we have the Drake Mallard duck here. It's an early season bird, this bird. It's been quite early in the season. I've had a friend source this bird for me, and it's just, you can see, it hasn't quite feathered up on the head yet. So it is an early season bird, but there is good feathers on the bird nonetheless, and we'll certainly get a lot of good feathers off it today. So coming back to the CDC, and this is the first feather I'll always start with. So I'm going to lift the CDC feather. So looking at the anatomy of the bird, okay, feather wise, okay. So you'll have the head, you'll have the neck, you'll have the shoulders, the back, the tail, the wings, okay. So the CDC feathers are always located down near the tail, okay. So I know where to find the CDC feathers. I can find them first time every time, but it's only because I've been doing this a long time. But if you get a duck and it's your first time rooting through a duck, it's a bit, you're going to find it a little bit hard to find the CDC feathers. So what I always do is work from right where the tail, where you'll see the dark tail feathers to the back feathers. They're a slightly black colour to a brown colour, okay? And it's them black feathers you want to lift. Or if you come back up off it, just lift up the black feathers. Halfway up from the tail, come up halfway into the black feathers between the tail and the shoulder, okay? And halfway coming halfway up, you'll see them, if you lift them there, them lovely little grey feathers that you're going to be presented with are your CDC feathers. So they're about halfway down in that black clump of feathers there. Okay? And on a duck, you'll average between, probably, a good duck will have about 20-25 feathers. Okay? So you'll average between it. Now, if you look root through them, because the preen gland is there as well, and I'll just find the preen gland for you. It's in amongst all the, there it is there, okay? So the preen gland is that little black clump that I have my finger on here, and the preen gland is what makes the CDC feather so effective, the oil. And if you've ever watched a duck will always be in the water. You'll see it ruffling around with his head down here and then rubbing its feathers around. That's rubbing the oil all over his feathers, so it's waterproofing the feathers. But the CDC feathers are naturally, so this preen gland is always producing oil, it's always excreting oil, and because these are sitting right on top of the preen gland, they're always naturally floating. So you can see it there. There's your CDC feathers. So I'm going to take them out and I'm just going to leave them there. So again, you'll see them all. Now I won't pluck every feather on this bird today, but I'm going to definitely take the CDC, because to me they're very important. I like I said, I can never get enough of these. Now, there's quite a good few on this bird actually. I'm probably getting in excess of about 20 feathers here, or 25 feathers. You get good ones, you get big, you get small, but don't leave any of them on the bird. Okay. You'll get big and you'll get small feathers, and then you'll get the fluffy down. But it's important not to leave these feathers, because like I said, these are gold, and you'll certainly pay enough for them, so use them. So that's it there, and you can see that there now. I've basically stripped it all there now, and you can actually see the preen gland fairly readily there, fairly easy there now, because all the CDC feathers are actually gone out of it, except for that one rogue feather I've left in. So he's not staying there. But you can see there now I've actually basically stripped all the CDC feathers out, and you have the preen gland there. Okay. The other one as well is like these actual feathers that are covering the CDC. So the tail feathers coming down, these are actually really good soft hackle feathers. Like, again, I do use them for making soft hackles on wets and nymphs and stuff. So they're very good. Tie them in like a partridge hackle. Really good. So like I said, you can take them as well. Really good feathers. Like I said, every feather can be used on a duck, guys. So just because most people are only after the most popular feathers, you will tie good flies with all these feathers, like the back feathers and the neck feathers and stuff. You will really tie good flies with them. These feathers here make good little wings on the tail feathers. You can see them. Again, they make nice little kind of wing slips on wets and stuff. I'm not going to take them today because I haven't quite enough of them. But then, as the duck matures, the tail feathers will start to curl, and they'll be really nice tail feathers to excrete or take from the duck. Because again, you can make you can tie in nice tails on flies with them. They're good for things like that. We're going to come back up, right? We're coming back up the back here now. We're going to come from the tail up to the back, and on the back here again we have this little soft feather here, and as you can see it there, again really soft. You can see that there. It's just absolutely just wifty and wavy. Again, lovely soft feather for tying in soft hackles and stuff. There's a little bit more fleckled one there, a little bit better design on it. Really good feathers for tying in. And as we come up onto the neck then, again you have these, again, really good speckled feathers, really soft, really good for soft hackles, and they make a nice little hackle for nymphs and wets and stuff. So like I said, I do utilise majority of the feathers on a duck. I don't take them off every single duck, because like I said, I've quite a lot of these in storage at the moment, so I don't utilise them all, but I certainly will take the most popular ones the whole time. But like I said, I do put a lot of the feathers to the duck to use. Depends on what flies I'm tying. Like I said, it's personal preference, but all these feathers can be put to use. It just really depends on the flies you're tying. If you're making up your own spin on or your own patterns, you know, why not use these, because they are really good. I want to touch just on the bronze mallard, really the most important feather to a lot of fly tyers. And if you look at the bronze mallard is basically located, so you've got the wings here, okay? A lot of people that are experienced with this will see the bronze mallard straight away in this video. People are new to this and haven't actually pulled feathers off a duck before, not sure where the feathers are situated, you know, won't identify them straight away. The bronze mallard basically are these feathers between the back and the wing, and you can see them there moving. There's these grey strip of feathers coming down off the shoulder, and it's coming down along that wing there, and it sits basically on top of the wing, between the wing and the back, and that's your bronze mallard. And the bronze mallard come up in, we'll move the wing out of the way, but the bronze mallard actually come up, because it's an early season duck now, the bronze mallard haven't really matured properly, but they come up in, just need to move these feathers out of the way first. So they'll come up in a slip, so you can get your hand underneath them. Sorry, I'm blocking it there now, but you can get your hand underneath the bronze mallard. They come up in a hole, basically kind of a group like that. And what you can do is just just pulling the wing out of the way. You just pull the bronze mallard set out, and what you'll do then is you'll have a right, and you do the same on the left. So if you're into the sets, like you know, having the feathers, otherwise you want to bag them up individually and just throw them in, but I like to bag these up in sets. So what I do is I bag them up in sets, so I keep them separate, left and right. So again, coming on to the left one here, and again just getting underneath them. Now when this bird is matured more, the feathers will be more predominant. You'll actually be able to just slide your hand up like this and actually take the feathers. But like I said there, so just coming up underneath them like that there. So basically if I push the wing down and come up, the bronze mallard lifts just like that there, and that's what you're looking for. So they'll come off quite easily. So holding the whole duck, pulling the bird. Now I have the left set, so I have the right and left set there, and I'm just going to leave them over there because I'm going to bag these up in sets. And then you'll have all your smaller bronze mallard here, the ones that you didn't come off, and I usually bag them up in individually then. So I just pull the smaller ones just on the shoulder. You'll get some flank feathers coming off because they're kind of will be mixed up, but you know, don't. It's important just to go through it and get them all. You will leave smaller ones on it, so going through it and pulling the smaller bronze mallard off the duck. You know, you put them to use. You can dye them. They're really good for dyeing the bronze mallard. Bronze mallard are good for like making, you know, dabblers and things like that. Collaring around, you know, a collared hackle or wings. They're good for tails, you know. So there's bronze mallard has wide use. Good for salmon flies, you know. So there's a good wide use for the bronze mallard. The other feather I want to look at then is, again, really important, and you'll all know of it, is the flank feather. Now where the flank feather is if I turn the duck up and lift the wing, so I'm going to basically lift that wing out. It's this. See these here? So they're coming up. These are all the flanks, so they come down to sit on the leg. So if you push the leg out of the way, and it's that group of feathers that are sitting just out. So again, just pushing the leg down, pushing your finger under, and then just pushing all these up. Just pull your finger all the way up through it. They're the flank feathers, and they come up like the bronze mallard. They come up in a set, so you can actually just get your hand, and that's all I do is I get my hand up underneath them like that. And again, just I try to get as much in a clump as I can. This is an early season bird, like I said, guys, so the feathers are quite small on it, but in another month or two when you get a duck, it is still September, so in another month or two when you get a duck, the feathers are going to be massive, and you'll get quite easily on a duck, you'll get 60 probably flank feathers in a set. So again, I'm pulling the left side there, so there's the left flank feathers, and I'm just going to leave them over here. And again then, look, you didn't get them all. So again, you know, there's all your left. And then you have all your individual feathers then, that are good for dyeing. And flank feathers are really good. You'll see the flank feathers primarily on wing sets for, you know, mayflies, spent mayflies and stuff. You know, they're good for tails, and they make great molded heads and bodies on streamers and stuff. So they're really good feathers. But I will take all them, and I will keep the sets, but I will bag up the individual ones then, and they're good for dyeing, like, and I'll dye them in various different colours, you know, gold and olive, yellows, you know, really good. And like you'll mainly see all them on wings for mayflies and stuff. But like I said, so look, you have all these small ones, and like the flank feathers really go right up to the neck, so where the neck starts to change. So again, it's up to yourselves. I like to take them. I don't like to leave them on the bird, because like I said, they do make great tails. They make, you know, if you're tying mayflies, they make great wings. And they're really, really good. And then you'll come around. You have darker kind of, as you come back down towards the legs, and you'll have slightly darker, still coming off the flank there. And like I said, bag them up separately for processing and stuff. Now you'll see that flank there is completely gone, and you'll see up here that the bronze mallard is completely gone. So we'll turn the bird around, and I'll move the wing, and again you'll see them here. Just push down on the leg, and it's that flap of feathers here. Then you can actually see, you'll get your hands up underneath them. This is the flank on the right side, and again, just use your hand, just get up underneath them, don't be afraid. And I'll just need to turn the duck around just so I can pull the feather out, but just bring it up and pull them. They come out quite easily, and that's your right side, your right foot. And then again, just underneath the wing, I'm just going to pull all them individual feathers. I'm going to bring them all out. It doesn't matter with them ones. I don't keep them. The individual feathers I don't keep separate. I just I bag up, and I'll dye them. You can keep them separate, absolutely nothing wrong with it. But you can see a feather here that hasn't quite come out of its quill, and you can see there, it just gives you kind of a good idea. When you put them together, they make really good tails and stuff. So, you know, they're good, really good feathers. And then coming around, you have your breast feather, your belly feather. And often or not, you know, when you do buy flank feathers, you know, unless you're buying from a reputable wholesaler, that sometimes, you know, what you think you're buying flank feathers, you're actually buying belly feathers or chest feathers or breast feathers, you know. But again, these are good feathers, similar to the flank. They have not quite the same barring on them, but they are good. And again, you know, I use them for the same use as the flank feathers, or, you know, the individual flank feathers, to make great wing sets and smaller flies and stuff, because they are slightly bit smaller. So again, not to be left on the bird. So I just want to keep them separate there. So there's your chest feathers there. So again, I'm not going to pull all them feathers now today. I don't really need it. I have a couple of bags of them already. So, but then not to be left on the bird, the chest feather. Again, great soft feathers, and they're great for tails, they're great for bodies, they make great spent mayfly wings, you know, so many uses for them. And the same then, if you want to come down into the darker belly feathers and come down towards the tail, all have the same uses. Okay, so really good feathers. So I want to just come around now, and I'm going to come to the wings. So you can see the wings on this bird, really good wings, fine bird. For an early season bird, it's quite a fine bird. The wings, feathers might just need a little bringing back into line, but again, or held over a hot kettle, that won't make a difference. So that won't be too hard. So, but like I said, there's really good feathers in this bird. So here with the wings, you have the wing quill. So you have the primaries, which are these ones here. So these are all the primaries, and these are what you would use primarily for making for dry flies on or for wings on dry flies, sorry. You know, the primaries, that's primarily what's used. Coming back into the secondaries then, and just above the secondaries you have your purple wing quills or your blue wing quills. You can see them there. Again, great for making, I use these a lot for wet flies, making wings on wet flies. One of the most famous is the Silver Butcher. Uses these feathers here for the wings, and again, really good feathers, so not to be left on it. Now with the wing you can actually do two things. You can pull the wing quill out individually, just like that. Like I said, when you pull them out and you ruffle up the feathers, don't worry about it, just you know, rub them back in, hold that over a kettle while it's boiling, and then feathers will fall back into place. Okay. But you can pull them all out individually like that, or what you could do, and depending on the humour I'm in or the mood I'm in, what I do sometimes is I basically just where you have the joint where the wing touches the body, just take a garden shears to that and just nip that whole wing off, depending on what mood I'm in. And then what I'll do then is I'll come in and I'll clean out all this area here, and I will basically just dry the wing as a whole. Store the wing as bulk, and when I need it then store them in left and rights, and when I need them then I can come and take these as I need them, you know. That's when I'm lazy, but sometimes what I like to do, or more times than other, what I like to do is just pull the wing quills individually and bag them up, and then you know, I'll treat them and get them ready for use. So you know, they're really good wing quills on this bird. They're actually in really good condition for an early season bird. Little bit out of place in here or there, but in a few places on them. But again, look, we'll bring them into line, you know. The other thing I like to touch on is these little white feathers in the wing here, down here and close to the body. These make lovely small little wings for dry flies. I love using these wings for size 18s flies. Nice little white wing on a little kind of a cream fly, or you know, anything like that, like or a little white fly. Lovely little white wings on it. Really nice. They're good for making little tails as well, little white tails. So again, I do take all them feathers there, so not to be left on it, but I just want to pull one of these blue feathers just to show you. So what I do with these is I use these for the wings on the Silver Butcher, and again, depending on the mood I'm in, I might just, like I said, I might just nip the wing off as a whole from here, and what I might do then is just clean it out, borax it, preserve it, and store it away, and then when I need it then I can pull the feathers off. That's when I'm lazy, but like I said, more times than often I do like to pull them and just bag them up in lefts and rights, and basically use them as I need it. So again, you'll see it on the on the left side. That was the right side I was dealing with there. So coming on to the left side, you have the same thing. Now the feathers are a little bit kind of ruffled up here. You will need a little bit of treating and care just to bring them into line again. But you can see them there. They're again good feathers, not to be left on the bird. So what I'll do is I'll pull them all off for today, and again we'll store them in left and rights. So I can have them for making good wings on dry flies and stuff. And again then you'll have your blue wings there then for your left and right side, for Silver Butcher or wets or anything like that. So no, it's they're good, really good feathers on it. And like I said, that is, guys, that is the feathers for use on a duck. So you have your left and right side bronze mallard, which we're taking off the bronze mallard here, just on the top of the duck here. We have our CDC, good lot of CDC taken off that, and again CDC is just under the tail and stuff, and like I said, CDC is my favourite feather. Love to tie lots of dry flies with them. My favourite being the F fly, never fails me. We have our flank feathers down here, so just over to the side are kind of our left and rights. So you can see them there. I'll separate them, but that's our left and our right there. And again, the flank feathers, like just to recap, coming off just under the wing, just as you lift under the leg. And then you have your individual flank feathers that you'll get all the way up, coming in to the back. You have your back feathers and your shoulder feathers. Okay, your neck feathers have that kind of same barn, as you can see there, as the bronze Mallard, but smaller. It's good soft tackle, but you have your back feathers that coming down here then. So good, and then you have your tail. So guys, not to be so like it depends on what flies you're actually tying with the feathers and what you're going to do. But you know, you can put them all to use. So you can, but that's primarily it. So you have your wing quills there as well. So that's it. That's it, guys. So just recapping here, you're not the feathers. Good feathers to be used on them. Certainly wouldn't be leaving the majority of them. If it's your first time, I would certainly be bagging up nearly every feather. If you're hitting the camera there, guys, sorry. I'd certainly be taking all the feathers if it's your first duck, because you will put them all to use. But that's primarily the feathers for a duck, guys, and what you use for fly tying. And like I said, all the feathers have many different uses, but they all can be used. But going through the various individual feathers there, that is nearly all the feathers that we've taken off. They're all the feathers that you will take for fly tying off a duck. So I hope this has been helpful, guys. But like I said, look, if you want to look over this again, you can log on to my YouTube channel. I have the same video up on YouTube, going through the step-by-step process of what feathers to take. So if you're stuck and you didn't catch it all in this one, you can recap by looking at it again. Yeah, that's it, guys. So like, I hope this was very helpful, and I hope it aids you in identifying the feathers and pulling the feathers off the duck. So what I'll do is off camera now is I'll continue to pluck the feathers we just have here. So I'll go through the wings. We have our bronze, we have our flanks, we have our CDC, but I'll go through the wings now and I'll take the wing feathers, and what I'll do is I'll bag them up then and get them ready for treating at a later stage. But that's basically it. So I hope you enjoyed watching. Thanks for watching, and all the best.
So there we have, we're back, folks. Fantastic stuff there from Robbie Berry. Lots of great comments coming in there. Great guy, very knowledgeable guy when it comes to his feathers and stuff like that. I know there's lots of questions there, and it's great to have Robbie on with us there. He's on live as well, answering all those questions to you. So if you have any questions, do shoot them across there to Robbie. He'll get back to you as soon as he can. But also, Robbie has made us quite a number of videos as well, folks. So don't forget, Robbie's going to be on here in a regular slot. Not every week, but he's definitely going to be on here in the regular slot. So he's going to be talking about taking those wings off. He's going to be showing us how to do all that, how to preserve skins and stuff like that as we go along in the series. So do keep an eye on the series coming up. Robbie will be here regularly right through from now till March, talking about feather care, feather harvesting and stuff like that. So it's brilliant to have someone on with that kind of depth of knowledge of feathers and how to, harvest feathers and stuff like that, how to look after feathers and be able to identify the feathers on different birds and stuff like that. It's a great part of fly tying, to understand your feathers. And we were talking about earlier on, you heard a lot of reference there, Robbie talking about steaming feathers out of place, all that kind of stuff, and I'd be very conscious of that when I'm picking my feathers that I'm going to use for winging and stuff like that. What are the real good ones? Put them to one side, bag them up and have them have them to one side. They're going to be for wings and stuff like that. So while you were sitting there watching, I quickly threw together, as you can see, quite roughly on purpose, a bit of a body, a palmered body, sage body there, just to talk about how mounting a wing on a green peter and stuff like that. So basically, I'm just at the process where I've just palmered down the body and I've ribbed up through the palmer hackle, and I've tied it off and cut away my waist, and I'm ready to start now preparing this fly to mount a wing. Okay, and again, part of it winging is Dave Donovan's on there. Hope he gets paid more than me. Yeah, it's Dave will be on there now shortly, folks, with a trivia. We got a nice big prize pack of goodies here to give away tonight to someone on Dave's trivia. It's back on. Can Graham do 2 in a row? Could it be possible? We'll see in a few moments. But Dave will be on there in a little while to keep an eye on the comment section there. Dave will be on with his trivia. But so anyway, I'm basically ready to start mounting, to get ready to mount my wing and what would be called a green Peter, say for example a green Peter wing. So before I do, once I've tied in and I've cut away my waist, I'll catch all those front feathers and I'll make sure I'll hold them back in my way and I'll get ready with my trade. Just get that little mount, get that nice taper back off the eye, follow the eye taper back up and make sure I have a nice even clean mount there to get my wing into place. I'll stroke back my it's kind of catching up with something there actually. I'll stroke back my hackles, my palmer hackles there a little bit and get them nicely tapered back, especially on the top, so you can see where my wing is going to sit nicely in on that top there. It's not standing directly up. I don't have any sharp steps here on up near the head of the fly, and I'm just slightly back off the eye of the hook there. Okay, so you can stroke them back with your finger or thumb. You can brush them back as I did before. Question coming up there. Yeah, great, Robbie. Robbie has a video. So we have 10 or 11 videos here. Robbie has a video coming up on how to treat feathers and stuff like that. We will be showing that in due course throughout the show. We have lots of special guests on this year, folks. We've got an absolute wealth of information out in this country when it comes to fly tying and stuff like that, and fly fishing. It's great that so many people want to share with the group here. So really do appreciate it. And again, as I always say every week, folks, if anybody wants to share something, please, thanks Mark, please come on. You're more than welcome to come on here and share information, or put it in the comment section if you don't want to come on and put your face on the and talk about or listen to your own voice. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put on wings, and these are pickwick dyed hen pheasant wings. Okay, so I got a left and a right here, and these are not primaries like we were using earlier on. These are secondaries. Okay, off the hen pheasant. When Robbie's doing the hen pheasant, we might talk about primaries and secondaries. But these are secondaries, and these are the wing quills we use for tying the green Peters. Okay, now I've got these dyed pickwick. Just actually going to they stand out a little bit better in the video, and they were the nearest to me when you were all watching Robbie, so I grabbed two, and I've been using them quite extensively, as you can see all my little cuts down along there of all the different wings. So when we're picking these, we're looking to pick this side of the feather here, that has the nice clean concave and convex. Okay, the other side of the feather has a bit of a kick on the tail and is not really worth much for anything. We're using this nice natural heavy barred. We're always looking for that really nice barn. Okay, when we select these feathers off the wing, we select them off, try and pick them off the same side of the wing. Thanks, Mike. Try and pick them off the same sort of stage of the wing. So they're very similar in molting and size and shape and stuff like that. It'll make it a lot easier and make your wing look very equal on both sides. Again, I've got my little trusty tool here for selecting my wing size. Because I'm on a size 10, I'll expand that pretty much right out there. And I always give the wing a bit of a stroke, kind of just marrying those feathers back together, making sure that they're nicely, all the barbs are nicely connected. It makes the snipping away, and it makes the whole process an awful lot easier. Once I'm happy with that, then I will just select my slip, pull it away. Great stuff. Great to have Dave Donovan's on there, folks. Questions up time. How many countries are affiliated to FIPSMoosh? FIPSMoosh is the world governing body of fly fishing, and Dave wants to know how many countries are affiliated to FIPSMoosh. Great question, Dave. Great to have Dave back on with us. He was in Wales last weekend, enjoying a bit of Wales there, a bit of grayling fishing, himself and Mark. So I'm just selecting both sides. Again, opposites. And we are going to have the concave facing each other as we did with the wet fly. Okay. Robbie's still on there answering questions. Great man, Robbie. Fair play to you. So once I got those two slips out, I will pair them up, putting the tips together, pick them up with my fingers, and make sure they are all ready to go. There now is my little sedge wing. Okay, as you can see, I got molted on both sides, fairly equal. You're never going to get it 100%, but I'm going to get them fairly close because I've selected them off both sides. We have it here in the shop, Peter. It is hard to get, but we actually sell pickwick here. We have diluted pickwick here, ready for dyeing. Give me a shout anytime, and I actually just got a recent load of it in. I don't do it here myself, not with the full percent pickwick. I get it done abroad and it's shipped in here. So we have it in small bottles ready to dye. Basically what you use is, if you ring me, I'll tell you exactly how to do it. We might do a little video on some pickwick at some stage to give people. It's quite dangerous stuff, but handled properly and done properly, it can be Very good. Give us a shout here if you want some Pickwick. It does lovely, as you can see. These are lovely wings. So I'm going to place them on top, and because I got everything nicely tapered back, they go in there quite easy. Okay, so I want these sitting up again like our wet fly wing. I want them just slightly past the bend of the hook. For me personally, I like that kind of wet fly sage to have a real pronounced wing as regards to size and shape. And once I'm happy and I've got them in place, I'll swap hands. And because of everything tapered back with the hackles, it's much easier to swap hands. I'm not crushing any hackles. The natural taper's going back on those because I've brushed them back, and everything's going to be lovely in place when I get this tied in. Okay, again, my tread positioning is very crucial here. Okay, I make sure my tread is at the very top of my mount. Okay, so this is what I call the mount here, this very little piece here. And my tread is at the very top of the mount, not at the very bottom of the mount. If it's at the bottom of the mount and we mount this feather, we got a hackle to go on after this, don't forget. So if we mount at the bottom, you're going to run into trouble straight away. And then when your finished fly is, that wing is going to be lying out to the side, it's going to be all crumpled and stuff like that. So make sure your tread is at the very top of the mount, up there, when you're going to mount your fly. Or your wing, sorry. Okay, place my wing into position. Again, hold it between the finger and thumb. And I'm going to do exactly what we did with all the other wings. Pinch in between the finger, bring it around, and pull it directly up. Nice and tight, secured in. And then I've got room to put a couple of turns. I've got room then to put a couple of turns down towards the eye on the rest of the mount. Okay? So James Murphy O'Connor, did James Murphy O'Connor win? He sees a woohoo anyway. I see a woohoo there, good man James. James in the Blackwater. So now it leaves me a couple of turns that I can put it leaves me enough space to put a couple of turns down towards the eye hook. And I'm not going to disturb my wing. Okay, what I'll do now, once I cut away the waist, I'll catch it again, and I'll put another couple of turns in there with a bit more pressure, really to secure that wing into place. And if we turn it over the side, you can see on the top of our hook, we got a lovely, well paired, lovely positioned wing, exactly where I want it, sitting right on top of that fly, down into the hackle, nicely positioned, and really can, and it's going to have great stability there because it's on a good mount. Okay, and it's well tied in. What I'll do then is I'll carry on now with a wet fly hackle over that and cloak it back over it, and hey presto, we got our green Peter hackle or green Peter wing in. Okay, so when you're doing those kind of wings, those sedge wings with palmered bodies and dubbing bodies and stuff like that, with a lot of kind of components coming up near the head of the hook, just make sure your mount is right. You know, get it nice and clean. Mount that. Make sure you're when you're attaching the wing, it's at the top of the mount and not the bottom of the mount, giving yourself space to come down over the waste material to really secure in that and not move or disturb that wing. And that wing is not going to go anywhere. It will fish quite well and stay quite well in place. I hope that helps anyone that was looking for a bit of information on Peter wings and stuff like that. As you can see, the wing is nicely sitting exactly where I want it, just in there in the hackle and sitting perfectly on top. That's exactly where you want a wing like that. Okay, so going to move on. Got another one or two wings I want to cover because I know a few people have been asking me about other stuff. So I can I'll keep moving on here quite quickly. We're going to do a little bit of a spent here now. Okay, a lot of people ask about spent mayfly and stuff like that. Says 4 slips for Peters. Yeah, he does actually. You're right, Kenneth. He does. A lot of people when they're tying Peters will put in 4 slips. I've just shown the process there. I do sometimes, but showing the process of mounting the. If it was 4 slips, come on, Katie, absolutely, Dave. If I was mounting 4 slips, it'd be the very same process. I'd be just doubling up on the amount of slips that are going in there. It'd be the same as if I'm doing the. Very similar to if I'm doing the. I'll think of it now in a minute. I'll think of it when I stop thinking of it. There's another fly pattern there that requires double winging. Okay, so we're going to do a bit of a spent. Okay, and this is a CDC spent. No, I don't. I don't use the glue. Will come afterwards. I tie in a hackle and then I'd put some glue on afterwards. Nope, there's no need. No need. So what we're going to do here is a CDC spent. So arrow spents have a black kind of CDC wing. An awful lot of the CDC or the spents that I would tie would be an arrow spent that would have the white body, the black rib, and then it would have a CDC spent wing on it. Okay, so what I got here is some black CDC, really nice high quality black CDC, as you can see, quite dense in material and quite long and quite large. Now when you're doing a spent CDC, try and get the 2 feathers to be very similar in shape and context. As regards, you can see this one here is quite large and broad, where this one has a bit of a narrow. I forgot actually. I meant to just. I see some comments coming up there about Man United, Dennis Goulden, and Dave Donovan and stuff like that. When I seen Robbie's when I first seen the video, I thought, I don't believe he's wearing a Man United top. Fuck's sake. But anyway, we'll forgive him. It was a good video. We'll let that one slide, Robbie. We might have to look at a uniform for next year. Next year, if you come back on with us and put up with all the hardship we're going to give you over the slagging and the banter. But yeah, the Man United top, I thought, oh my God, my dad'd be happy, all right, watching it. But no, it's not for me either. So select your marabou careful, or select your CDC carefully. That both feathers that you're going to use on either side of the fly are very similar in shape and context as regards the amount of the density of the feather, I would say. So here we go. Here's a nice one here. Just pulled it out of the bag. It's not too bad. A bit thin in the middle, but it have a very similar context to the first one we're going to use. So I'll strip back a bit of the down off the bottom of that feather. Now don't strip it back the whole way. When I'm mounting this feather in, I'm obviously going to bring my mount point quite well down the hook, okay? Because we're going to have a lot of hackle on both sides of this. We're not going to just mount it in as regards right there where the stem meets the hook, okay? What we want to do is actually mount it a bit lower down. That will help it stop it from spinning. So we want these flat. Dave Donovan's on there giving a bit of an update on soccer. Thanks, Robert. We want these to stay flat, okay? We don't want them to twist or kink on us, because that's obviously the way we want it sitting in the water. Is that nice flat with the convex above and the concave below helps support that spin fly, okay? So when I tie it in, I will actually tie it in, trapping in some of those CDC fibers. It makes it much easier to keep that. Now, saying that, I took my eyes off it, okay? Give me a bit of a break on that one there. It saves me, or it will help me create that nice flat look I want. Okay, if we tie it in just on the stem, because it's round going in on the round hook, well then it will twist or pull to the side and it'll flip over for you, especially when you're getting up, you know, you're mounting these feathers after you've done the body. You still have a lot of hackling to go and work to go up there near the head. The last thing you want is those things spinning to the side, and then as far as I'm concerned, the fly is not going to work. It's not going to serve purpose. Okay, so you can see the nice natural curvature we have on that feather going over the top. It's going to support that fly. It's nice and flat wing. When we're finished with it now, we'll trim it up a little bit, and it's also very secure and very stable in where it is. A few figure of eights there. Job is done. That one is done. We'll take our second one. Okay. The opposite side, what I'll do actually before I do that is I'll actually trim away that waist stem. We don't want that there. It's going to get in our way. Don't trim it dead right to the hook. There's no need to trim it right into the hook. But just 1 or 2 mils shy of the hook, okay? What I'll do now is I'll measure up the feathers, and I will get the second feather to go in there exactly the same. And you want the stem of the feather to be exactly in line with the other one coming over, okay? So we don't want to step in it. Okay, now if one's a little bit shyer than the other, or one's a little bit longer, you have the opportunity now to just catch the secondary stem, the one we just added in, and slip that back along without creating too much of a twist. And again, figure of 8 those in. Well secured, job done. Take away that stem waste, and you can work away on that fly and it is not going to move. Okay. As you can see, we have a nice spent wing. Okay, the camera is a little bit close. I'm not going to move the camera, because if I move the camera, it might take us a bit longer to get back focus and stuff like that. But you get the gist of the whole thing, okay? I got 2 nice flat wings on that spent May, sitting exactly where I want them. Quite strong. I can bring down my thread here now and go and introduce my hackle. If I want, I just happen to have a little bit of hackle here, and I'll introduce it. Little bit of grizzle hackle here, and what I'll do is I'll add that in, just below those wings, and then I can start taking those up below the hackle, and I'll bring it right up there. Hackle also helps support the spent wing. Okay, I don't go figure of 8 through these. I go really tight either side. Put plenty of it in there. Those feathers are sitting lovely and strong there now. No disturbance whatsoever. Tie it off up near the eye. I'll cut away my waist. Let's make sure all those hackles are back. Come on, Jim. Jim reckons the duck has a better chance of winning the Premiership. Great. So, whip finish there. And I now got my hackle on my splint. Okay? And as you can see, you can't really, because it's so large and the camera's so close to get the detail. But I have a nice spent wing. You can get a concept there. Have a nice spent wing, sitting exactly the way I want it. Nice shape on it, folding over lovely on either side. And what I can do now is I'll add a little bit of extra shape to it by just trimming out some of them extremities on those feathers and getting a lovely CDC spent wing on that. And there you go. Very simple. If you want to sit and flat down on the surface of the water, trim off those underside hackles. No need for those. Little bit of a blow away, and that thing there now will sit beautifully like a spent. Okay, but the most important thing is it's really strong. Great crack. Thanks, Rain. Well, man, Kieran Sherlock, there's a great crack tonight. But you can see, really strong stability in those flies, really good shape. We've really hit those 3 T's on that spent mayfly, or that, and they're quite strong. You can really do what you want, and they'll come back into shape again because we've used natural curvature, and they'll come right back in shape. I'm going to do one more for you folks because I know there's one more that's on my list here that has to be done tonight. Thanks, Martin. Yeah, really nice profile. If you had a white body on that with a black rib and a black pheasant tail with maybe a little hot red ass, you could take a couple of trout on that one. There is one more we want to talk about, and that is the DeVoe. Okay, we're going back to the duck, the DeVoe stage style wing. I'm going to just stick in another 301 size 12 here, and I'm going to bring down my trade. I want to put a little bit of dubbing on this here, some random dubbing here. I got a bit of we'll do some of those spents when we go to. We are going to have mayfly nights. We're going to have dabbler nights. I'm not going to cover the dabbler wing tonight because I'm going to do that on a whole show in itself. The dabbler wing is a whole. There's a whole process to that thing. So we're going to cover more wings as we go along, folks. It's just so many people asked specifically to talk about wings and technique of winging. I said we'll just do a show on all these different techniques here now. And then as we go through the next number of episodes, not really the next ones, but kind of more in towards the Christmas, we'll be going back onto lake flies and stuff like that. Great stuff, Jonathan. Great to have you here. Flying green raffia. Well, green raffia, Jonathan, there's no such thing as green raffia, really. What you're buying there is Swiss straw. Swiss straw is the substitute for raffia. Raffia is a natural brownish grey. It grows on palm trees. It's from the palm tree. So what you're actually buying is green. Swiss straw is what you want to be looking for. These particular hooks here, John, are the 301s. Robert, ahead of me, good man. Robert, thanks very much for that. Right, so tying in, so these are off the neck of a duck. Okay, these are up near the neck. As we've seen in Robbie's duck there, they weren't really kind of very molted quite well or coloured up quite well. These are from a later in the season duck. I've got these off a later season duck, and these are what we're using for a DeVoe wing. Okay, so you can see quite curvature. The curvature of these are extreme. Okay, really curved, and we're going to use that to our advantage. Again, there's quite a lot of them on a duck. We will Hugh Flavin. We will be doing a buzzer night again. Last year's buzzer night was so good, I think we didn't do one last year. We did one 2 years ago with Basil Shields, and it was fantastic. That's up on our YouTube, Hugh, if you want to go back on and have a look at the buzzer night there on YouTube. All these videos go up onto YouTube, folks, on the Sunday, and you can go back and watch them all. They're all up there from the last 2 seasons, so this will be our 3rd year this year. So all I've done there is just strip down off the down off that feather and expose it a bit as regards to the piece we want. Now, it's very important that you get the right size here. So this is size 12. Now, if that goes onto a size 12, it's going to be way too large, going to wrap around the hook completely, and you're not going to get a very good finished fly there. So we can strip it down a little bit, okay? Now, before people come on there and say, do you not use flue glue and all that kind of stuff? I do use flue glue and stuff like that. I'm going to show you how to dry mount it first before we talk about putting in glue and stuff. So, for the DeVoe, you're going to need at least 2. Some people use 2, some people use 3, some people even use 4. Okay, depending on the size of the fly, depends on your depends on the size of your fly. You probably could, Jonathan, but you will find Swiss straw quite easily. And probably some of the best places you'll find it, Jonathan, will be in craft stores. Okay, craft stores or even gardening centres do have quite a decent selection of Swiss straw at times because it's used in gardening as well. So once I've got those 2 feathers, I line up the tips together and I'll have a look at them and see if they're going to be in around the right size for my size 12. If they're not, I will strip back another couple of little bits off of that. Now when you're tying into the bow, of course, always tie it in again back, because we need that room to the eye to do our hackle up the front. And we basically make sure we wrap it around the hook. Like so. As you can see, we have a nice sedge wing with a nice concave sitting nice and low down over the fly, and that'll look quite well. If there's happens to be one sitting amiss on this side, I'll just slide the scissors in there and I'll take it out. And there we go, that's the dry mount. Okay, nice and easy. You know, when we talk about stability and stuff like that, thanks, we can, yeah, we certainly can, Kenneth. We'll actually include that along the way. As I said earlier on, if anybody has any particular techniques they want to see in relation to winging or hackling, do shoot them across here in messages. We're only delighted here to get more content for these shows and to be helping people out and trying to help people get over their issues in flight. But that was kind of a dry mount there, no resins used or no glues. You know, sitting in a nice shape, quite happy. Yeah, that's decent enough. And you'll tie in your hackle there now and fish away. When we talk about a wet, and when I kind of talk about a wet mount, I'm actually going to unwind this to save time. And when I talk about wet mount, what we do is we get our, and especially if I'm using partridge, okay, if I'm going to tie a partridge sedge wing on top of that, okay, a little bit more different material than than what we use there on the duck, okay. Partridge is just a little bit harder to get that nice shape on it. Thanks, Jim. Yeah, maybe someday. Maybe someday. We're going to use a little bit of Flugu, okay? Flugu or varnish. I use the Vineyard stuff, whichever are you like. Thanks, Kieran. Whichever you like. And all I do is basically upside down on the finger, okay? Get a little bubble of it there on the finger, a little piece size, and I massage it between my finger and thumb, okay? So now I've got a nice coating on my finger and thumb. Not wasting too much time. What I'll do is I'll put that partridge between my finger and thumb, and I will just start stroking it back like so. And basically what I'm coating both sides of that feather. Now the more I stroke it, the tackier it kind of gets and the drier it gets, but also the narrower it gets. You can see how narrow that's gone there now. Okay? So I'll give that bit of coating, and sometimes I'll go for a second. Okay? Finger and thumb. A little bit messy. You need a kind of piece of tissue paper or wipes here, just to clean the finger and thumb afterwards. And again, just stroking that back, getting the perfect shape I want to that sedge wing, depending on what I want to achieve with it. And you can see there now it's married well together. It's gone lovely and tidy. Flugu has just done a nice job on that there now. And that's ready to mount now. So I would probably have 2 or 3 of those ready to mount directly on top of that. And you get a lovely shape and a lovely finish to that. So definitely when I'm using partridge, I'm going to use that. If I'm working with the Mallard, going back to the Mallard here as well for the DeVoe, or chocolate drops and stuff like that, very popular lake fly. And this doesn't, you know, this is not just for rivers. These are for loch style as well, quite effective. I'll strip back me down exactly to where I want it. Bit small probably, that one. Okay, got one here, it's a little bit bigger. And again, I'll do the same process. Thanks Dennis for that. I use brown packaging tape on small DeVoes for the river. I always have. Great, thanks, brilliant. Thanks for sharing that, Dennis. And what I'm doing here is the same process, just stroking it between my finger and thumb and getting a lovely shape to that DeVoe, or to that little feather there, as you can see. Really nice strong shape to it. And once that's dried, so I'd often sit down there, prepare a load of wings, and once that's dried, then double them up and I will present it in over the fly exactly to where I want it. Get it into position and then secure it in. And you can see the different type of wing I get now. See how solid that wing is compared to the last one? And see how it sits down over the fly again. Little bit different. Just that small little bit tidier as such than the last one. Okay? The last one was a dry mount. I call that the wet mount. Everyone has their preferences. If I'm tying for myself, I use the dry mount all the time. All the time. But I get some people that really want that neater, slimmer, sleek little sedge look with that lovely little butt end sticking out the back. You can see how neat that is coming out the back. and the cavity underneath means that's going to float like crazy. Thanks, Dennis. So, it depends on the look you want to get to that fly. A little bit of flue glue like that. Take your time with it. Again, preparation is everything there. You hear Robbie talking about it. I was talking about it earlier on. Preparation. Prepare your materials. Select the correct materials. It's so important. Spend a bit of time on that. Prepare yourself. Have your desk laid up properly. And when it comes to winging, it's going to make life an awful lot easier. Understand your materials. You're very welcome, Grain. So that particular one was a shoulder. That was Tom Hipwell. That was off the shoulder of a partridge. Just between the wing and the back. Thanks, Bernard. Just between the wing and the back. So I'd put a hackle on that maybe now, and she'd be ready. That'd be ready to fish there now. That fly, even with a single feather on. I like putting a double on that kind of thing. But so just, a bit of time in preparation of your wings. Choose the materials correctly. Prepare them. When we talk about mallards and stuff like you heard Robbie mention it. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, James or John. Just when, steaming feathers, things like that. So prepare your wing feathers. And I would be very selective. So I would have a box here of feathers that's just for wings and wings alone. And in that box, there's mallard, there's bronze mallard, there's crow, there's starling, and that stuff is only for winging and nothing else. I won't use it for nothing else, only for winging, and it's the best I can select or best I ever find. I'll put it into that box and that's where it stays. So, start off with those basics, couple of easy little tools, and I hope the people that had any issues around winging, that was a bit of a help to you. Thanks everybody for watching. Next week we are back. It is November and we're going to go do a bit of nymphing next week. So do tune in. We got some great patterns to show. Thanks, John. Thanks, Martin. Great patterns to show you next week and going forward into a bit of nymph in November. I hope everybody enjoys their bank holiday weekend. Huge thanks to Robbie Berry, Dave Donovan for coming on tonight as always and giving us some great content. Great crack on the show tonight. Really enjoyed. Look forward to going back reading all the comments. And I hope everyone has a great bank holiday weekend and a safe bank holiday weekend. Happy Halloween to everybody. Hope all the kids have a great time trick-or-treating. Don't forget, if you need any fly tying or fly fishing gear, do please give us a shout here in pescarifly.com. We love to hear from you. If you have any feedback or any ideas, also give us a shout. But thank you everybody so much for your custom throughout the year and their support for the shows. It's great. It's just been great crack. We really look forward to Saturday nights. And we will be back here live again next Saturday night, 8:30 p.m. Look forward to seeing you all then. Have a great weekend, everybody. And again, happy Halloween.